So I'm going to discuss display advertising. Very basic layout and concepts behind it. How and the importance of display advertising. How we address display advertising. So basically what you have a publisher who in turn wants to sell his product, which then in turn he decides, well, how the best way to do this is to contact a network of smaller agencies. This network of smaller agencies then in turn decides, okay, let's basically outsource this information out to a whole bunch of places and see if we can get all this information for the publisher out there. And you go then from that concept, there's a symbiotic relationship between obviously the publisher, the networking agency, and the main advertising agency itself that's going to help in this whole process of, and in turn trying to figure out the best way to get the publisher out there and all of his work out to the different proper areas. And the way they do this is basically continually working back and forth along that line of publisher, network, agency, advertiser, and backwards. And you'll note that the bottom line here, as it is with any advertising, and the main goal would be return on investment. Okay, and the more and the stronger your return on investment, obviously, the more successful you are. But it is a back and forth symbiotic relationship, and it's really important that they all work in tandem and communicate, because if some point down that line there is a lack of communication, there is no clarity, there is something that is missing, either on the size of the banner ad, on the message, on the call to action, on something along those lines that simply is not what the publisher wants to accomplish for that piece of work, then what happens is you shoot yourself in the foot and you go back and forth. So that's why it's really important, this whole line of communication that they have, starting obviously with the publisher and working its way through that whole process, is really important. Now, banner ads are the key to all of this, and banner ads are now somewhat regulated in size by what it is that they want on the internet currently, and the IAB does that. So basically, there are four basic sizes that they're sort of looking at now. There's the rectangle, which is 336 by 280, the square, 250 by 250, the skyscraper, which is basically a long, thin sidebar ad, which is 160 by 600, and of course the normal banner ad, which is 728 by 90. And those are the ones that you'll see across the internet in just about any format that you see. Most advertising agencies will keep with these standardizations. By doing that, you're keeping a standard look across all of the web, across all the ad pages, and across all the important companies working together to at least keep a basic standardization and look on the net, so you don't have things that are totally out of whack from one to the next. You do have that clarity, you do have that clear, concise standard that you're trying to follow, or that you try to at least execute for that particular individual. So, why do you bother doing a banner ad? I mean, really, what's the point? And what it boils down to is this: banner ads are effective, they're very carefully put in the right locations and used to attract a specific audience. The need to make visual ads is obvious, and they're getting more and more effective, becoming much more eye catchy, becoming much more interactive for the customer as well as for the individuals trying to make the ads. And so, depending on what you're trying to accomplish, either a static ad, one that's not that interactive, or one that is much more interactive that you can do now, where you have people clicking on calls to action that move across the screen, that people are turning around and making things much more interesting for a customer to look at, whether it's a pen running across a page or someone running across your banner ad. It's pretty incredible what they can do now. So, those are all options. You have to look at your option, see what fits you the best, and go from there. So the basics of banner ads are clear. The standardization is clear, and the process is pretty simple. It's a back and forth symbiotic relationship between the publisher and all the different steps in between, which are the banner ads being built by an advertising agency, then being distributed, and of course coming back in the very end to the whole thing being summed up by really what everyone wants, which is the ROI, which is the return on investment. And if everyone puts in the right work, the right effort, follows the right courses of action, these banner ads can be very successful and in turn bring in a very successful return on investment.